call yourself a man? You know you're a lying, low-life, motherfucking gambling degenerate prick. You know that's what you are?
Well, hello you degenerate fucks, and welcome to The Degenerate Gambler. It is Thursday the 17th of March. It's the third day at Cheltenham. I've just got my first winner at Cheltenham, so it had been a pretty bad week, but hopefully that 33-1 winner will make up for it. So anyway, let's get into last week and look ahead to this week's bets. So last week, I actually forgot to mention in last week's episode that I had got a bet up on the Thursday, and then last week on the Friday. So obviously the podcast came out Thursday. I got another bet up. So that was two midweek ones that I'm happy enough. You know, my midweek picking has not been great this season, I'll be honest. Doing pretty well at the weekends, but weekday stuff hasn't been great. So two there in 2 weeks was good. Then that moved on to Saturday, where I managed to get the main bet up. Main bet's probably been my biggest winners this year, which is strange for me because normally I'm a lot better at picking overs, but I don't know, I haven't changed anything, but my overs just don't seem to be hitting this season. I think I've maybe hit one or two, but I've hit 4 or 5, maybe 6 main bet winners. So whatever works, you know, I'll keep doing. So I'll run quickly through that main bet. It was Bournemouth who won against Derby. Oxford 1-2-1. Sheffield Wednesday went like 5-0. Brackley 1-2-1, and then Juventus 2-1, but they were 2-0 up, so I got early paid on that. Total of that was 144. So look, that's a great bet. You're not going to complain about that. So happy with that. As I say, that Thursday bet that I had was 84, and then I think it was the Friday before that I won something like 90. So in a week there, you know, what's that? That's 220, say 230. That's 330, 340 pound. Excuse me. In winnings in the last sort of, what's that, maybe 12, 13 days. So happy with that. The overs bet was Ipswich Portsmouth, which was I can't remember. Was that up? United Spurs was up. Swindon and Oldham was 1-0. Blackpool Swansea was 1-0. Gateshead and Gloucestershire was up. I think it was 3 or 4-0. I can't remember that Ipswich score. Ipswich Portsmouth last week. No, that was beat. I think that was 1-0. Yeah, so again, only 2 up there out of 5. So, you know, overs, I don't know. I'm not doing anything different. It just seems to be looking at a lot of weeks. There's a lot of weeks out there, last week being one of them. I don't think there was loads of goals about, so then that's putting the amount of games that you have to pick from down. So say not great. My evening bet was this was a killer. So I had United and Spurs both to score and overs was up. I had Boreham Wood and I think it was Chesterfield both to score. They scored 2 late goals, a goal each, was up. Hearts to win, the 1-4-2. Cluj to win, the 1-2-1. And then that was going on to a late game in Spain, which was Getafe Valencia over 1.5, which was 8-13. A short price, a big price for over 1.5, but you know it's still the favourite price. And it was 0 each, so there wasn't much of a sweat. But I did notice that it went 1-0 up Getafe, so I clicked on to see the goal to see if it was going to be VAR'd, and it was. But the more I watched it, I just couldn't believe. I mean, what actually happened was the Valencia defender passed it back to the keeper, and then a Getafe forward went to close down. The keeper smashed the ball, and the guy sort of put his arms into his chest because he maybe didn't want to put his arms out in an unnatural position. So his arms were across his chest, like, you know, almost like he was hugging himself, and the ball hit him in the arm, went over the keeper and in. Now, some people might say, oh, that's a handball, the ball struck him in the arm, but the rules, or the laws if you want to call it that, have changed the last couple of years where it's not necessarily a handball if the ball hits your hand. It's more dependent on where your hand is. So if your hand's out to the side, above your head, or whatever, then that's an unnatural position and you're stopping the flight of the ball. But this the guy, you know, if his hands were behind his back, the ball was still going to hit him in the chest and go over his head. So it didn't make any sense to me that they ruled it out. And it was at a perfect time because it was around 72, 75 minutes. So it would have left 15 to 20 minutes for the game for either Getafe to get the second because they were in the ascendancy, or Valencia to get an equaliser, which could have happened. More likely, Valencia would have pushed for the equaliser and then Getafe would have got the second. So it was very disappointing. That one was hard to take. On Sunday then, I'll do Sunday. Sunday was bad. I had Southampton, they were beat. Leverkusen wasn't great. Brøndby, sorry. I think that was 2 each. Cliftonville drew in the cup. Young Boys won, and Dortmund only won 1-0. And then I did an overs. Leeds Norwich, I think that was up. Feyenoord was up. Leipzig was up. Midland Copenhagen wasn't up. Newcastle Chelsea wasn't up, and Napoli Verona wasn't up. So Sunday was poor. So look at the favourites before I go to this. In the Premier League, there was 9 games over the Saturday Sunday. 7 favourites. There wasn't a single draw and 2 outsiders. So most of the favourites won in the Premier League. In the Championship, there was 11 games over the 2 days. There was only 4 favourites. There was 5 draws in the Championship. In that mod, 5 draws and 2 outsiders. So I'll look through some of those draws just to have a look. So Fulham drew with Barnsley. Fulham were favourites in that game. Hull Birmingham was a draw. Them games were 1 each and 0 each. Cardiff Preston 0 each. Millwall Middlesbrough 0 each, and Stoke Peterborough 0 each. 2 each. Sorry. So that's your 5 draws, which is, basically 50% of the games in that league were a draw. But we know what the Championship's like. It's a very, very hard league to pick winners in. Move on to League 1, where there was 12 games, 7 favourites, 3 draws and 2 outsiders. And I'll look through some of the favourites there that won. So Accrington beat Charlton at 5-4. Burton beat Fleetwood at 9-10. Gillingham were slight favourites. They were 17-11 versus Doncaster, who were 2-1. They won, so that was a favourite. Morecambe again another one. They were 13-8. Sorry, Cheltenham against Morecambe. They were 13-8, and Cheltenham were 7-4, which is basically 14-8. So it was a slight favourite, but still favourite. They won. Sheffield Wednesday won 6-0 at 4-9. Oxford won 2-1, as I had backed them. They were 6-4. Sunderland won 2-0. They were 1-3. So that was most of your that was your favourites. Then into League 2, where there was 11 games again. This time 6 favourites, 3 draws and 2 outsiders. So very similar, except there was 1 less game, and so that meant 1 less favourite. National League. Now this was decent. There was only 7 games in the National League at the weekend. The Bromley Aldershot game was postponed for whatever reason. But of the 7 games, 6 favourites won, and there was 1 draw. The draw was Bournemouth Chesterfield, the match that I backed both teams to score, which you probably could have had for a draw because they're 2 good teams. But yeah, so in that league, sort of basically 90%, 90 whatever percent you want to call that, of the favourites won. And I've found that the National League is easier to pick winners. So, but in total, that worked out at, of 50 games at the weekend. 50 games at the weekend, there was 30 favourites, 12 draws and 8 outsiders, which is low. 8's low, and that worked out in total of 60% of the games. Now that's where you want to have that number. You want to have at least 60% of favourites winning every week. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I was able to pick a winning bet, because there was more favourites out there, So happy enough with, say, my wins, and that was the stats that backed it up. So I'll move on to this week. So first team in the main bet is League 1, and it's Rotherham versus Shrewsbury. Currently Rotherham top of the league, Shrewsbury 17th. Form, Rotherham, both teams are not really in, well, Shrewsbury are in great form for a team who's at the bottom of the league. Rotherham's form has been poor. They've only got 8 points. But their home form, they beat by MK Dons, but other than that, they've won 3 and draw 1, including their last game at home, the one against Lincoln. Whereas Shrewsbury away have only got 1 win, 3 draws in their last 5. So that's my thinking on that one. The price on that is 8 to 15. Next, staying in League 1, and I'm staying at the top of League 1, which is the next team is Wigan. Wigan are at home to Morecambe. Again, Wigan's form not great. They've got 10 points, which is that's decent. But there's a few teams in League 1 that have in the last 5 games have got more than 10 points. There's 3 other teams with 10 points. Then there's Sunderland with 11, Plymouth with 12, Oxford with 12, and MK Dons with 13. So there's teams in form in League 1. But Morecambe have only got 2 points in that time. And Wigan's home record pretty good. They've won 3 of their last 4 at home. They drew against Sutton in the cup the other night and went out, but that was a cup game. And the price on that one is 9 to 20, which is basically around 1 to 2. Next, now this one I do still fancy it, so I'm still keeping it in, but there is a bit of a caveat here, which is the next one is Mansfield. Now Mansfield are at home to Stevenage, who Stevenage are sitting 22nd in the league. They're only a few points above the relegation zone, and the other teams have games in hand. And they've only got 1 point from 15. And it's a Mansfield great home record, 1-5 in a row at home. Stevenage away record, 3 draws and 2 defeats. So form says Mansfield should win this game, and they're 4 to 5 to do so. The only problem is that Stevenage sacked Peter Tidsdale, I think that's his name, the manager, and they've employed a new manager. I can't remember his name, escapes me now at the minute, but so I'm worried about that new manager bounce. So that one, 4 to 5 is a good price. When I picked it, and when I read that, I think the guy's called Steve. Forget about it. Doesn't matter. You can look it up if you need to. Steve needs to have a new manager. So I'm a wee bit hesitant, but I'm still confident with that home record. Mansfield should win that game. Next, I move into the National League, and it's a team that I back a lot, and I do like them, and they've hit form at the right time, and that is Wrexham. Wrexham currently 4th in the league, and they are away to Bromley. Wrexham 5 in a row wins. Bromley only 2 points in the last 5 games. Bromley's home record is good, to be fair. The only home game they lost was against Stockport, and Stockport are up top of the league. That's in the last 5. But again, Wrexham's away record, very good. 4 wins away. And just looking at the form, so in the last 5 games in total, they've obviously had a few of them away from home. They've only got 1 win, and that was at home against Solihull Moors. They lost away last week to Halifax. They drew with Torquay. They drew with Weymouth, and they were beat by Stockport at home. So yes, they've got that good home form, but their form just in general, not great. Whereas Wrexham's lost 5, in fact their last 8, they've won 8 games in a row. 7 games in a row, home and away. So price on that one is 21 to 20, so just over evens. And then lastly, I did toy with a few others here. I toyed with Gateshead. I toyed with another team in the National League North. Let me double check that. Again, because maybe you want to make a change, and maybe I do fancy Gateshead. Who was the other team I looked at in that league? Oh, I looked at Brackley again from last week. Brackley, they haven't lost at home since the second game of the season. They've got an unbelievable home record, but they play Kidderminster, another team up the top with them, but who's not in form. But look, I didn't pick those two, but those two are worth looking at, Gateshead and Brackley. If you don't fancy one of the ones I picked, maybe look at those, because I do fancy them. But the one that I've picked is in my local league, and it's Cliftonville. Cliftonville are away from home at Glenavon, and they're 19 to 20. My reasoning with this is Cliftonville had an extra time win in the cup at the weekend, so yeah, the legs may be a bit funny, a bit weak, but Cliftonville should be on a high. They need to win and keep winning to stay up level at the top of the league with Linfield. They're in good form. They've 4 wins in their last 5 and a draw in the cup, which they ended up winning anyway. Their away record 4 wins and a draw in the last 5. Glenham's home record's patchy, a defeat, a draw, a couple of wins, but again, that's their home record. In their record overall, 3 draws, a defeat, and a win. So again, not in particularly good form. So that's 19 to 20, as I said, and that works out at roughly 15 to 1. Next, I'll go on to the overs. So I'll just run through this quickly. It's Huddersfield Bournemouth at 5 to 6, Crewe Bolton 9 to 10, Crawley against Swindon 10 to 11, Sutton Tranmere 6 to 5, and Boston versus Gateshead 3 to 4. That one works out about 24 to 1. So that's the 2 bets. Also with those 2 other teams that maybe if you don't like one of my teams, you can put in Gateshead or Brackley. Next week, not a lot of football. We're going into an international break, which means next week I'll probably go over my amounts that I've bet, lost, all that sort of stuff. Because there's not as much football to pick from, so I'll probably not do as many bets. But yeah, so next Tuesday there's some League 1 there's 2 games, League 2 there's 4 games, 10 National League and 10 National League North, a couple of Northern Ireland Premier League games, but the rest of the week there's not much, so it'll be a quietish week for me. So anyway, that's about it for today. It just leaves me to say, if you are doing a bet this weekend or at Cheltenham, good luck and happy punting.
Here, get the fuck out of here. Here, thanks. Let me find out you fucked up. I'll leave you wherever I find you.